Bible devotions. We are now on day 3 of our examination of logical fallacies. We have already studied 3 logical fallacies, and today we're going to add 2 more. Okay, so we've talked about ad hominem, the against the person fallacy. We've talked about self-contradiction, a statement that fails to satisfy its own conditions for rational acceptability or truthfulness. We already studied false dilemma, when you're presented with only 2 options when in fact there are actually more on the table. Now let's talk about slippery slope. It is showing an idea as untrue because of increasingly unacceptable events, which can be used positively in some social arguments. This can be good, but as a means of logic, it can be fallacious. So let's examine an example of this. If women are educated, then they will not want to stay at home. And if they will not want to stay at home, then they cannot be good mothers or they cannot be good housewives. And then what will happen? There will be unrest in our society. This is a slippery slope because these unacceptable events that you're imagining to happen does not necessarily have to happen. And there was an instance in Philippine history when the women of Malolos actually wrote to the Governor General of the Philippines to be given a special privilege to study in private because they didn't have the right to study. And when they were given the right to study, this did not even happen. So these unacceptable events are imagined. So when there's an argument like this, it's a slippery slope, it's a logical fallacy. If I make an exception for you, then I have to make an exception for everyone. Again, this is another example of something that is not necessarily going to happen. For example, I give an exception for a student for accepting a project which is incomplete because a specific situation that happened to their family. There was an accident, let's say there was a fire. Now, if I make an exception for that student, that doesn't mean that I will be forced to make an exception for everyone because everyone else's house were not on fire. Everyone did not experience the same tragedy. So the exception I will give to someone as my prerogative will not be something that I will be forced to give to other people. That kind of thinking is a slippery slope, a logical fallacy. Another example, if we let him go like this, then everyone will believe in him and then the Romans will come. Where did this come from? You're right, this came from the Bible. From John chapter 11, verses 45 to 50. There's an instance there wherein Jesus were already gathering many followers because of the miraculous things that he did. Therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. What are we accomplishing? They asked. Here is this man performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. And you have to understand the context that the Jews came from the exile of the Babylonians a few hundred years ago, and they are afraid that it's gonna happen again with the Romans. Then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, spoke up. He said, "You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish." And based on this fallacious argument, what did they do? They have decided to kill Jesus. They decided to crucify Jesus because of a logical fallacy. They're thinking that if they will not decide to kill Jesus, the whole nation will perish. But those unacceptable events were only imagined. It's not even gonna happen. See? That's the slippery slope right there. Okay, another one. Complex questions. It's when 2 otherwise unrelated points are joined together and treated as a single proposition. People are expected to accept or reject both together when in reality, one may be acceptable while the other is not. What is an example of that? This question. Does your mother know that you're stupid? 2 unrelated points joined together. And if you answer no, are you answering no, you're not stupid? Or does it sound like you're saying that no, your mother doesn't know, but you are stupid? That's dangerous. Another one. Have you stopped beating your wife? If you answer no, Because you're thinking you're not beating your wife, it's like you're saying, no, I haven't stopped beating my wife. It's a trap. It's a complex question. How about this? Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Then, being a Jew who who should despise the Romans, the Roman Emperor Caesar, then the answer should be no, it's not right. But if you answer that, again, that's a trap because two unrelated points were joined together. The assertion that you're supposed to pay taxes was inserted there, inserted into the context that it's actually during the time of invasion. How do you respond to that? Let's examine the masterful answer of Jesus from Luke chapter 20, verses 20 to 25. Keeping a close watch on him, they sent spies who pretended to be sincere. They hoped to catch Jesus in something he said so that they might hand him over to the power and authority of the governor. So the spies questioned him, "Teacher, we know that you speak and teach what is right, and that you do not show partiality but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth." They just battered him up first. Is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not? There's the complex question. Jesus saw through their duplicity and said to them, "Show me a denarius, whose image and inscription are on it." "Caesar's," they replied. He said to them, "Then give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." Look at this complex question. What did Jesus do with this? If two unrelated points were joined together, you separate them first before responding. That's why Jesus said, "Give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." He separated the two unrelated issues. Well, yes, you're supposed to pay taxes. So, if your tax belongs to Caesar, then give it to Caesar. But whatever your duty to God, give it to God. Now, that kind of answer is how you treat trap questions like this, complex questions that are intended to trap people. We'll continue studying logical fallacies tomorrow.